Okay, so we are now on step 23, and step 23 is all about your radio gear. So with step 23, you connect up your receivers, your servo, and your electronic speed controller. So as you can see, battery in, motor wires are on, your electronic speed controller on number 2 on your channel on your receiver, and your servo onto channel 1 onto your receiver. And here we have my FlySky system. I've selected a spare port on my model port on my actual transmitter, and I've actually already bound my FlySky receiver. So it's a matter of testing and centralizing the servo. So let's turn her on. There we go. There's that little beep. So servo, as you can hear, as you can see the torque of the servo, nice servo, and we've got forward, brake, and reverse. Happy with that. They're all working, everything's in place. Servo is now neutralized because I've used that to neutralize it. There we are. We can turn off our systems and start doing the servo. So for step 23 now, we have our servo, which we've centralized using our radio gear. We need the P5 or the P6 part. So this one, you use the P5 part. You've got your P4, which is like a spring. You've got your A3, which is the servo horn. You've got your P1, which is like a little spacer that goes inside. But on your A3 part, you've got to put one of these ball connectors on, the 5mm ball connectors, and then fasten the servo horn to your servo using the correct screw. So in my case, as this is a metal gear here, I'm going to be using a 3x10mm stainless machine screw. We've got to put that onto the servo, but when we put the horn on, I've noticed Tamiya want you to put it at a 15 degrees, so almost like it's slightly off the center. So although you centered your servo, the servo horn is going to be 15 degrees off the center, and I'm assuming that's to make up for the quirkiness of how they've put the steering linkage system in, because it's at a diagonal. All right, so let's put this bit together. So that's your P5 part. Now your P4 part, you need to put that on top like that. Then we need to do this A3 part, so we'll put the little ball connector on top of that. So we'll take our driver, that's a bit better, straighter, there we are. Drive that home. Like that. That will go then like that. So what we need to do is we need to adjust. So this is 15 degrees the other way, like that. Okay, and then pop that on there. My 3x10. Need to screw that into place onto the servo. There we are. So now we have step 23 completed, and we continue on. So for step 24, we need some more component parts. So we need the B5, which is this plate. We need the A5, which is this. We also need this part here, which is the A1, which is this guy here. We need some more parts from C-Bag. So BC1s, we need 2 of those. That's the 3x6mm machine screws. BC3s, 2 of those, which are the self-tapping screws, 3x18mm. BA6s, which are self-tapping screws again. These are the 3x10mm screws, and we need the BC8s, which is the washers. We need 4 of those. Okay, we need those. We need our servo, which we made up in step 23, and our chassis. We're going to place the servo into the chassis, connect it to the steering linkage system, and put this cover on as well. All right, nice easy step again. So the first thing we need to do in this step, let's put this bracket correct way round, so getting these little area here downwards. We need to connect that onto the servo like that, using the BC6s, the 3x10mm screws, and the washers. So that's quite a nice easy step. So take your BC, you take your washer, place your washer over there, and again making sure you get this the right way around. I'm going to attach that one on there, and again another one like that. Touch another one on there. And you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute, John, you're putting them on. Yeah, method to my madness. Put them on, and then I can position them over the servo. Now, and now it's on the servo, I can just screw them tight. Okay, so screw these tight, back to second. Here you go, so you nip these up like so, like that, like that. Okay, so that bit's on. So now we have to start thinking about putting this in the car and cable management, because there's a little piece here you have to take into consideration. Your cable for your servo has to go through the hole in the chassis. So I don't know if that's going to pick it out on here, which is here. Oh, excuse me. So effectively you're bringing your servo wire through here and also out the other end like that. Okay, so I anticipate there'll be some form of glass tape or something over here in a moment, later on in the later steps, but we want to make sure this is kind of straight and looks nice. So I'm just going to figure out which way round to put this. Okay, so I figured out the neatest way I can do this is to little loop here, because there's another little bracket we've got to fit in, which is this A1 part, and then it goes sort of down into the bottom of the chassis and across like that. So there we are, that's kind of where we need to be. So this little part here, that's going to go in here underneath the servo and connect the servo and the chassis together, and that will keep the cable where I want it to be. So we're going to do that next. So just line that up, and then take the longer of the self-tapping screws and the washers. So we're going to be using the BC3s and the washers. So one on that side, on that one, and one on that one. And then screw these through, and that'll screw the servo all the way down onto the chassis. Like so. And as you can see now, I can just maneuver this cable the way I want it, and then screw that down. So if I can lift that up, something like that. Okay, it should be nice and easy and not pinching the cable. Alrighty, and then we need is the other of the BC6s. The screw the other part of that bracket of the servo to the chassis. That's that bit in there. And then the last bit to this step is, this is going to be the receiver mounting plate by the looks of things. We need to pop that in position. There's a couple of holes there, and there's this here for where cables, obviously management's got to come through. So pop around the other side, take your BC6s and screw them in from the bottom. Wind those in. There we are. Tight. Don't have to go too mad with this. And tight. There we are. So now we've done step 24. Okay, so for step 25, we need to start thinking about putting our receiver and our electronic speed controller, our little switch, and we need to start thinking about putting these into the chassis. So it says to put it here onto this plate here. So you need to pop those there. Switch was going to be double-sided onto there. And the receiver in here as well, whichever way around suits. So yeah, got some of this glass tape to stick down here so that it just doesn't get rubbed away, and we've got some double-sided tape to stick on the back of your electronic speed controller and your receiver to be able to stick onto this tray. So I'm just trying to work out where best to put these items, because I know it says put them on this plate, but I'm kind of thinking maybe the receiver can go more inbound, depending on where we want to put the battery, because I've got a bit more flexibility, because this is the long one, a long chassis, so it can go, the battery could go here. I know the manual says put these parts down here so that the battery sits more at this end of the car. So I'm kind of thinking perhaps I don't want the receiver at the front end because it's a bit open, and don't want it too near here, and I'm wondering if there is a possibility of adjusting this slightly and putting it so that the battery is more forwards, bringing some of the weight to the front of the car, and putting this more at the back here like this, so that stops it from jiggling around, so the battery goes to jiggle around, and perhaps might even be able to stick this somewhere at the back here instead. So we'll see, won't we? So might be a bit of luck, I might be able to squeeze it in. So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so that's the thought, but we've got a double-sided tape these, so quite easy job, and then connect up the motor. See how it goes. And we're continuing on with step 25, which is installing the radio gear, ESC, and wiring. And I've just got a slightly different route. So on here it says put on the plate here the receiver and the ESC. So I've got a bit of wiring to tidy up, of course, but I've decided that yes, I'm happy to put the electric speed controller on that plate, no problem. So the switch can stay on the side of the electronic speed controller rather than being stuck at a weird angle. They say put the switch on top of this bit here. I think, ugh, no. And I've decided that I've made a little bracket to fit in and put my electronic speed controller, my receiver, sorry, on there. And the reason being is that the battery, once you put the battery in and there's a spacer, I can bring the battery forward. The battery can sit in there, and you've got that little spacer that goes in, so that stops it from going in, and that should allow the wiring and such like to go into that area there. So it should be enough room. So yeah, I've got a bit of cable management to sort out now, and then we can get on to step 26, which is the wheels and tires. Hey, pretty good though. So yeah, I think that looks a bit better. And with a little bit of patience and manipulation, I've kind of got the wiring where I need it to be. So I've kind of got it underneath the receiver and the motor wires going out to the back. Just got to put some more cable ties on just to hold it in place, and then we worry about this battery one afterwards. Right, so we can now move on to the wheels and tyres at this stage, into the next step. And here we are, we're on step 26, and it's wheels and tyres time. So the manual for the Tamiya manual here, it on the bodywork manual, it talks about spraying the aluminium wheels. They've got this nice chrome finish, and they talk about putting this gloss aluminium, leaving a chrome finish in the centre. And while that perhaps might look nice and more period, I quite like the wheels as they are. I like this chrome finish, it's nice and bling. So I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to do this colour scheme. So yeah. Anyway, tyres time. So there's two sets of tyres for this chassis. You've got a front set, which are in this blue bag. Just have a quick sniff. Oh yeah. Yeah. So these the standard like road tyres with the grip. Oh yeah. Sorry. Has to be done. And then you've got the rear set tyres in this like an orangey sort of bag, and these feel a lot softer than these ones, so I think these are going to have more grip. So because it's a rear wheel drive chassis, you're going to have a little bit more grip on the back. Yeah. Oh, about the same. Sorry, have to do the sniff. Yeah, you can blame Simon Webb for his for starting that off. And yeah, pop along and see his channel. Anyway, these rear ones have a on the inner wall here, they got a little 2 symbol on there. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but they are the ones that are going on the rear because they're softer, much softer compound, a bit stickier as well. So I can see why they're going to give a bit more grip for the rear. Okay, so it's a case of putting the foams inside the tyres and putting the tyres on the wheels, and the wheels we need to super glue just to make sure they don't come off. Right, so that'll be step 26. So I'll get them done and show you the results. So you'll see here for step 26, we're just basically putting the tyres and wheels together. So you'll see the foams in there. Look, you could just see I've just literally maneuvered that in, and you just literally you just make it. You just press it in. There's nothing, there's no real technique to it here. You put it in, you meet up the sponge, and you just push it in. So there we are. So once you've put the sponge inside the tyre, you then take your wheel, and you literally, well, again, no right or wrong way of this. You maneuver it, and you get the thread over it, and you stretch it and give it a tug here and there. And the idea is you want to make sure that you get this lit correctly. So it does say in the drawing that the idea is you need to get the sponge sitting in the middle of the wheel, so that the rim at the edges, the bead actually sits correctly in the wheel. So you sort of have to manhandle it a bit to get it round, and then you've got to literally push the sponge into the middle so that it seats correctly. And yeah, you just go around and you're basically feeling for the sponge going into that center rim, and you make sure the bead sits nice and straight. If it's sort of sitting up like this, you know it's not sitting correctly, so you've got to manhandle it around a bit and get it to sit right. So that's all we're going to need to do, and then once you've got it sitting right, you can start thinking about gluing them. Got to have a little look at how they look on the car first before I glue them. I don't know whether I need to do this extra bit of painting or not, but we'll see. But that's kind of how you put that on. Need a little bit of manipulation on there. Let's put that sponge in. Yeah, there we go. So that's the wheel and tyre, and you can see I've done the fronts and the backs. And here we are. We're now on step 27. And step 27 needs some more parts. 12mm hexes. We go with our wheels, our axles, our little shafts here. These are the little 2x10mm shafts that's going to go across the axles and they are going to locate when they're across the axles in the hexes. All right. And we also need our wheels and tyres, of course. We need our wheel nuts, which are 4mm flanged, and they are got the locking nut system in them as well. And we need a couple of our 1150 bearings. And let me show you how to put the front section on. So I'll show you one. So we're going to move out the pin like that. So keep hold of that for another day. We're going to replace that pin with one of our 2x10mm shafts like that. Pop that through the same hole that the pin went through. So just pop that through like that. Take one of your hexes, push that on like that. Take one of your front wheels like that. There we are. Then take one of your 4mm flanged locking nuts and go tighten that up onto the wheel. And it's as easy as that. That's the fronts. So I'll do the other front and show you in a moment. And there we go. That's your front wheels on with the bearings. Right. So now we're going to do the rear of the car. Very similar to the front, except we've got to get one of our 1150 bearings on. So take your bearing, pop that over the axle. Got to make sure that goes in and all the way home. There we are. And then we need to make sure that the 2x10mm shaft goes in. Like that. There we are. Our hex goes again over the shaft. And then we take one of our rear wheels. Remember, our rear wheels was the one with a little 2 on them. Take that in. Take that on. And again, our 4mm flanged locking nut and lock it into place. Like that. There we are. So I'll do the other one, come back and show you how it looks. And there we go. Step 27 is now completed. We have our rear wheels on now. Remember, these are the ones with the number 2 stamped on the inside of the tyre. So make sure you get them in the right order. And we've now got the car actually on its wheels. There we go. Just that very springy suspension to think about. Anyway, there we are. We shall move on to step 28, which is the battery cover that goes in here. And we've got some other little fine tuning to do. And step 28 is all about the battery stay and transponder. So we're going to take our B7 part, which is this over here. We're going to take our B3 part, which is this over here, and screw it together. 3x8mm self-tapping countersunk screw. Countersunk, as you can see. There you go. Right, easy enough step. Just going to show you what it looks like. And there you go. That's screwed into place with one of the countersunk screws. All right, easy enough done. That's step 28 completed. And we're now on step 29. 29, we're going to do this section here, which is our BC11 and our B12 part, which are these 2 parts here. We've got our R-clips, which are there. We've also got our B6 part here, which we're going to position into the chassis, depending on which model you have. On my chassis, you remember that I've got my B part and I'm moving my battery a little bit more forward. So I'm going to place my B part, I can show you, in the chassis a little bit more here, in these areas here, which will bring my battery more forward. Okay, and yeah, put the transponder battery stay across the top. So I'll show you how it's done. So let's do the little B6 part first, which goes in the chassis where the receiver is. Turn the chassis upside down, and we're going to collect with those little countersunk 3x80 8mm. Countersunk those, one there, and let's go grab this other little tyke. Yeah, there we go. And we just tighten those down. Easy enough step. So they're now tightened up. done and done. So now you will see, method in my madness, my battery is going to sit like that. So my receiver, as you can see, is back there. It sits nicely. Okay, I might put a little bit of packing just to stop this from jiggling around a little bit, but that's that bit done. So yeah, now we can do this top stay. And we take our BC11s, one of our BC11s and our little B10 part. We pop that in there and we screw that into that paste there, like so. So we've got one at the front, easy enough to do. And the other one is going to go back here. And like I say, slight deviation from the plan of the long wheelbase, because I want this to catch across there and across there like that. That's what I want. All right, easy enough to show you. Just screw those in. And you just screw those in until they're all nice and home. And just screwing the last of this in. There we go. And then you line up the holes so that they run this way. Okay, and then you're going to take your 2 R clips and you're going to take those. You're going to pop the brace across there and across there, and then what you're going to do is pop your R clip in there, and that holds your battery in. It's easy enough to do. Okay, and you're going to connect your battery up like so. Well, a bit more cable management to do, I think. I don't like these flopping around. Anyway, yeah, there we go. So, but that is technically step 29 now completed. And here we are on the last step. And last step we need, for the rear of the car, we need the C9s, which are the longer of the body mounts. And for the front of the car, we need the C1s, which are the shorter of the body mounts. And you've got a choice of using the antennae system, either using this system here, which is where you put it on the slopey section of your car, which is here, but I'm not doing that. Mine's going to be more at the back here, so I'm opting to go for this part here, which is our C10 part, which is this guy over here, and screw that into the section of the rear body mounts. Okay, so these are easy. I'm just going to show you once they're done. And there we go. Step 30 is now complete. We've got the front on, we've got the front ones on, and the posts for the rear as well. And there's the post connection for the aerial. And I kind of used a hole that wasn't being used by the suspension to pass my aerial through up the tube. There we go. So there we are. That is it. We now got to sort out these horrible pogo sticks. Right, and then put the body on. So yeah, might just put the body on, see how it looks like with the pogo sticks for now, and then do pogo sticks conversion to oil shocks. Right, see what it looks like with the body on.